From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
The small community of Gardiner, Montana, already showing it will stand up together after flames tear through several of the town's historic businesses.
No shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service.
Effective immediately, Governor Steve Bullock issues a directive that in all counties with 4 or more active cases of COVID-19, Montanans and visitors must wear a mask. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight here on Q2. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, as new COVID-19 infections hit another daily high in Montana, Governor Steve Bullock finally took the step that more than 20 states are now following. Residents and visitors must wear face masks in most public places. But so far, the order won't apply everywhere in Montana. MTN's Mike Dennison was at the Capitol for today's announcement and brings us the details.
For weeks, Governor Bullock and other Montana leaders have been urging people to wear face masks in public to slow the spread of COVID-19 infections. But on a day when Montana reported 145 new cases, a new daily high, Bullock said it's time to take it a step further.
Unfortunately, it's become clear that we need to do more. And that asking folks to do the right thing just isn't always going to be enough.
With that, the governor said, effective immediately, face masks will be required at businesses and public buildings in counties that have more than 4 active cases. As of Wednesday, the order applies in 23 of Montana's 56 counties, including its 8 most populous counties and some rural counties as well. The number of new cases reported Wednesday surged by 72 in Gallatin County, which now has 242 active cases, and by 27 in Yellowstone County, with 396 active cases. Bullock said enforcement shouldn't have to be heavy-handed, but that it also shouldn't be a big ask for Montanans to follow the rules.
No shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service. It's that simple. I can't say enough about just how easy it is to wear a mask. You saw me take mine off before speaking today. Just like how we put a seatbelt on when we get in the car and unbuckle it when we need to get out.
The governor noted that Montanans have plenty of reasons to comply, like the health and safety of fellow citizens and the future economic health of the state.
Montanans need to not only feel safe, but to be safe, to continue supporting small businesses like restaurants and breweries, clothing stores, bookshops, and more. And Montanans need to be healthy to work.
Schools got some news from the governor, too, on Wednesday. He's earmarking $75 million of coronavirus relief funds to help public schools cover COVID-19 mitigation costs when they reopen this year. Aid will be available for private schools as well. Governor Bullock also said he hopes his directive today means that in 3 or 4 weeks, when we all mask up, that we can start talking about a downward trend in the COVID-19 numbers. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
All right, thanks so much, Mike. Now, the governor says local governments and public health departments can impose stricter requirements to stem the spread of COVID-19, but that he doesn't want to go back to shutting down businesses. Well, the governor moves forward with this directive as confirmed COVID-19 cases across Montana surged past 2,000 and active cases top 1,000. State health officials report 145 new cases, the latest single-day record for Montana. Yellowstone County reports 27 cases today. There are 8 new cases in each Flathead and Garfield counties. Now, the state now has more than 1,000 active cases and 34 deaths. In Wyoming tonight, Governor Mark Gordon communicating the same concern as Governor Bullock. Gordon points to the 700 new cases in the past month and says a more casual attitude has cost the state. As a 22nd person dies, he too is asking Wyoming residents and visitors to wear masks. Gordon also telling residents tonight that the state does not have enough money to pay its bills going forward, and he needs to make more cuts. So far this year, Wyoming has lost 1/3 of its income. Well, a revised version of Montana Fair is still set to take place at the end of the month here in Billings. And this afternoon, Metro Park officials tell us they will adhere to the governor's mask order. Up until today, the fair was not looking to mandate masks, but Metro Park's Ray Massey tells Q2 that anyone coming to the fair will now be required to follow the governor's new health directive. And if you don't happen to have a mask to walk the midway or spin on the zipper, masks will be available. The Montana Fair is set for an early start this year on July 24th. Well, local businesses and health leaders ahead of the curve in getting the masks out to area businesses. Today kicked off a free mask distribution day. The Masks Mean Business campaign encourages businesses to show they are willing to take an extra step to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Things started off this morning at the future home of Big Sky Economic Development Authority. That's at 301 North Broadway. It's one of 5 locations that businesses can pick up free masks. Other locations are up and running now until this Friday during normal business hours. These include Black Dog Coffee, Boot Hill Inn, Soup and Such, and Laurel's Chamber of Commerce. For details, head to this story at ktvq.com. Well, community concern grew last week after COVID-19 was found to have infected residents at the Men's Pre-Release Center here in Billings. All male residents have been isolated to their rooms for 14 days until staff can be sure the virus is gone. Q2's Mitch Laggy talked with the center's CEO to bring us the details.
Over the 4th of July weekend, a case of COVID-19 was identified at the Men's Alpha House Pre-Release Center in Billings. More testing revealed a total of 8 cases in the men's facility. Alternatives is the company that runs Alpha House. Its CEO says that the facility had to make the switch from normal operations to quarantine procedures within 40 minutes of the staff's knowledge of the positive case.
Major change, a lot of stress on, of course, the residents not being happy being in the rooms, but also the staff. Just a lot of work on their part.
The infected residents are being isolated from the other residents not showing symptoms. Uninfected residents are now required to stay in their rooms. Staff deliver all meals and medications during 14 days of isolation. The policy is a major shift for residents who are used to more freedom at Alpha House. Q2 heard specific concerns from residents about the 5 to 10 minute outdoor breaks that Armstrong said were being given 1 to 3 times per day.
If meal service is going on, that's going to take the priority. So certain blocks of time during the day are either for meal service or medications. And again, most of the residents are very patient with that. Some are very upset because they don't see that as the priority. They want to get outside.
Armstrong said staff are trying to speed up the process, but are currently taking 1 room outside at a time. The slowdown lies in the number of staff being required to police social distancing.
Like normal people in the public, not everybody observes social distancing or keeps their mask on or does the appropriate thing. So right now it's urgent that we enforce that.
Alpha House residents have been kept away from their jobs since the isolation. The good news for those residents, depending on their health conditions, the 14 days is up on Saturday, and many will return to work. In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
And Armstrong tells us there have been no COVID-19 cases in the Women's Pre-Release Center. And Alpha House staff tell Q2 they do not know of any residents who've lost their jobs as a result of the 14-day quarantine. Well, the community of Gardiner begins a process of recovery today after fire ripped through several downtown businesses last night. Now, the flames, which started yesterday around 4 o'clock, burned through the night, and crews were still fighting hot spots this morning. MTN's Cody Boyer shows us the destruction and how the community is coming together.
5 businesses in downtown Gardiner impacted, 4 of them total losses, many of which had apartments with people inside them above. Those that were here say it started in 2-Bit Saloon, then spread quickly.
It's heartbreaking. What a big piece of history we've just lost.
It's a scene that Gardiner has not seen in decades. Flames licking up and out of 4 businesses leaping from building to building.
2020 just keeps punching, it seems like.
One of Park County Sheriff Brad Bickler's deputies drove by 2-Bit Saloon when he says an employee ran to him for help.
He went inside with just, minimal fire suppression stuff that we carry in our patrol vehicles, tried to do what he could with it, but unfortunately it was too much fire.
The deputy's attention turned upward. Above the saloon and the Yellowstone Raft Company, apartments filled with people.
Just community members that were trying to do as much as we could, or they could, to try to help suppress the fire, get people out safely.
The fire gutted the saloon, filtering into the Raft Company, then Rosie's Bistro behind it. Red's Blue Goose Saloon soon followed. Meanwhile, fires burned in the basement of Rosie's Bistro for hours.
It was mind-boggling. You just saw smoke at first.
Leslie Dare is the secretary of Gardiner Community Church and a waitress at the Yellowstone Mine.
I feel for the people who own these buildings buildings. I feel for our town that we lost all of this.
She says the response on Facebook was staggering.
The Gardiner market is donating food. They've been donating water and Gatorade for all the first responders. Wonderland last night made like 60 burgers that they had their employees running them out.
Others stepped up too. Xanterra and other hotels donated towels and toiletries. People began donating clothes, and other businesses joined in support.
If there's a community that can stand in the face of adversity and stand back up, it's this community for sure.
The Gardiner Pharmacy and Yellowstone Perk also damaged with smoke and water, but no one was hurt. Businesses nearby remain open, something both the sheriff and Leslie say is not a shock to them at all.
It's so wonderful to see how everybody just wants to help.
In Gardiner, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
And the sheriff says the area will be closed off for some time. As for helping in other ways, community members tell us you can do that by supporting the local businesses that are open nearby. Well, the first national level polling for Montana's 2020 general election is out. And as one might expect, the top statewide races are looking pretty close at this point. Public Policy Polling, a firm that works primarily for Democratic candidates, says its poll shows Democratic Governor Steve Bullock with a 2-point lead over Republican Senator Steve Daines for a U.S. Senate seat. Democrat Kathleen Williams and Republican Matt Rosendale are tied at 44% each in Montana's U.S. House race. And Republican Greg Gianforte has a 4-point lead over Democrat Mike Cooney for governor. The poll of about 1,200 registered voters conducted late last week has a margin of error of 2.8%. As for the presidential race, the poll has President Trump leading Democrat Joe Biden 51 to 42% and says 51% of Montanans approve of the job that the president is doing. We'll talk about an election year. It is time to vote on a name. You answered the call, submitted hundreds of suggestions for Zoo Montana's new two-toed sloth. Now 5 finalist names have been chosen and are up for vote. Your choices? Winston, Doug, Miles, Stanley, and Lenny. The polls for the new name are open now online. Stockman Bank will tabulate the votes this Sunday and announce his new name next week. To vote, you can log on to ktvq.com and click on our sloth story. Well, up next on tonight's 5:30 news, the school year is quickly approaching. Tonight we break down the back-to-school plans for MSUB. And in sports, as the men prepare to hit the links for this year's State Am, Casey talks with the award-winning Mark Hahn, who had a huge impact on the women's game.
And coming up in weather, we've got 90s coming our way, but will there be any water or rain coming our way? We'll have the answer coming your way in a few more minutes.